Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Joy News Today. We are coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle. We're on DTT because we're free to on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 125. We are a home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Coming up this afternoon, Minority begins its planned boycott of Parliament as they accompany both Asin North MP Quayson and Minority Leader Dr. Ato Forson to court.
It is sad that after the same people have made their choice and reaffirmed their choice, this Attorney General is going ahead with this political persecution.
Also, this afternoon, construction activities on the Bree Ridge blamed for the constant falling of rocks on the road between Pedriase and Ayimensa Stretch. We'll hear from road engineers and the Eastern Regional Minister, who is ordering residents to put a stop to actions that put the lives of road users at risk.
Okay, on the other side, like I said, we have to use the drone to help us get the area view, so that it will give us a proper immediate and then maybe the long-term solution.
National Food Suppliers Association beg government to pay their 273 million cedis arrears as they spend another night picketing the Buffer Stock Company Limited. We have business, sports, showbiz, and world news coming up shortly. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. We're also live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter at Joy News on TV. My personal handle is @Danana Aisha. Do stay for details. Many thanks for choosing us. This afternoon, there will be no NDC MP on the floor of Parliament today as the NDC group begins its announced boycott of parliamentary business. A minority leadership announced during the swearing-in of Quayson that whenever the Asin North MP or any of their colleagues is expected to be in court, they will not attend the House. Today, both the minority leader and Quayson are expected in court for their respective criminal trials. Speaking to Joy News, Minority Chief Whip Governs Kwame Agboja argued the prosecution of their members must stop.
This morning, the minority will not be participating in business on the floor because we are accompanying our two colleagues, Honorable Quayson and Honorable Ato Forson, who are due to be in court this morning. Based on that, we are unable to attend to any government business. We'll be in court to support them. I think the minority leader gave this hint when he was making comments after the swearing-in of our colleague, Honorable Quayson, on Tuesday.
Will you leave at least one member on the floor to maybe raise issues of tone?
We are not participating in any business today as long as we are in court in solidarity of our colleagues who are being persecuted as far as we are concerned.
Are you minded that in the last ruling of the Speaker where he said you don't necessarily have to sign as long as you're within the precinct of the legislature means that you have attended to Parliament?
Well, we are not, it is not an issue for us. Currently, all we are doing is to be in solidarity with our colleagues whose persecution we think is politically motivated, has nothing to do with law. As of what happens on the floor, well, we are not here currently. At the moment, our focus is to be in solidarity with our colleagues who are being persecuted. It is sad that after the same people have made their choice and reaffirmed their choice, this Attorney General is going ahead with this political persecution. We see what the future holds.
I've been joined by parliamentary correspondent Quayson. Kweku, has sitting started, and is there any NDC MP on the floor?
So just about 2-3 minutes ago, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, walked in, gaveled the House in session. The prayers were said, and then he had to suspend sitting for the next 5 minutes. There is not a single NDC MP currently on the floor. In fact, the NDC-led Public Accounts Committee actually sat early this morning. They've had to end that meeting because of this boycott decision. So I can report that sitting has started. There's not a single NDC MP on the floor. All of them have left, and they are saying that they are accompanying their leader and Judge Quayson to court. You know that Judge Quayson this morning is having to do with the issue of perjury and forgery. That case has been called at about 11 a.m. thereabouts in the High Court. And then there's also Dr. Ato Forson, whose case of causing financial loss to the state is also happening at about 1 p.m. So that would mean that they are going to be out there. As you see that on the screen, that is how it looks on the minority side. Not a single of their 137 MPs are on the floor. And they say that this is because they believe that government is persecuting their members. Government is on a single most agenda to reduce their numbers in parliament. And because of that, they are taking this stance that government business is going to be boycotted. What some really crucial government business coming up, but the NDC MPs say they are not going to partake in any of that.
So that means that there's no business today, or does the House currently have a quorum to sit?
Well, at the time the Speaker of Parliament walked in, I could count 30 MPs who were on the floor. As per the standing orders and the Constitution, the quorum for normal, ordinary business is 1/3 of all MPs. That's about 92. But the issue with quorum on the floor is that if someone does not raise it, it will be ignored. So I've been asking the minority whips, I mean, would you leave one person on the floor to try and see if there's no quorum, they can raise those issues? They say that is not their focus. Ordinarily, if you have 32 MPs on the floor, it means that there's no quorum to transact business. But the House can ignore that. The House can just go ahead and do business. Because if no one does raise this issue, then none of those issues are going to be held.
So, but you have been asking the minority chief whip if they are not concerned that government will bring in controversial business whilst they are away. What has he been saying?
So yes, I put that question to Governor Kwame Agbodza about this idea that government has some taxes coming up, government has a lot of things that they want to do. And if you say that you are not going to cooperate with them and you are not on the floor, whilst you are away, what happens if they bring it back? They say, well, that is not their concern now. But despite the crucial businesses that are going to be taken, they are still not going to be there. There are a couple of bills that have to be considered. I've seen the Deputy Attorney General on the floor to help Parliament deal with those businesses. But regardless, they say that they don't care about that. They just have to go and solidarize with their colleagues who are in court.
Gwegwa Sante is our correspondent in Parliament. Definitely there's more we'll bring to you from Parliament in our subsequent bulletins. Let's stay with politics because a second-time flag-bearer aspirant in the governing NPP, Francis Adainimo, has taken his turn to face the vetting committee of the governing NPP today. He becomes the 10th and last aspirant to go through the process after 9 others, including Vice President Dr. Baumia, Alan Chairman, former Trades Minister, and former Agric Minister Dr. Friakoto went through same process of scrutiny this week. The Professor Mike Aaron Okwe committee is expected to close the exercise today after engaging the former Mampong MP. My colleague Samuel Mbura is there for us. He joins us with more. Mbura, it's the last day of vetting. How has it been so far?
Aisha, yes, I can report that the vetting has come to an end. The last aspirant to appear before the committee was the former MP for Mampong, Francis Adainimo, whom we know is going into the contest for the second time. He has been held by the committee for close to 2 hours now, and just a couple of minutes ago, he was released. So, in a brief interaction with the media, he said the engagement was a success, and he is optimistic of sailing through to the next process. He also told the media that he is going to shock many people who think that he is an underdog in these elections. He says his message is resonating with the people, and they have given him that firm assurance that he will lead the party after the flag bearer election. So what I can say now is that it's not left with the vetting committee to now wrap up their notes and then conclude their opinions on what they have witnessed so far. So at the moment here, we only have the media still around, waiting to hear from the vetting committee. But all the aspirants, as you mentioned earlier, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the Vice President, former Trade and Industry Minister Alan Chemanten, former Agric Minister Dr. Fia Koto. We also had Joe Gatti, who is a former Railway Development Minister, successfully going through the vetting. Kennedy Ejapon, MP for Asin Central, also had his opportunity this week to go through the vetting among the other remaining aspirants. So it's a whole lot of optimism and confidence from all the aspirants who have gone through the process so far. We cannot tell who has qualified or not. It depends on what the recommendations of the vetting committee would say. So Asha, at the moment, we are still pitching camp outside whilst waiting for the committee to address us if they have scheduled to do so.
His turn today. In fact, he's the last person to face the committee. Earlier, I know he addressed the media. What has he been saying after the vetting?
Well, his comments were brief. He wouldn't talk to the details of what transpired at the vetting. What he could tell us was that it went worse, and then he was satisfied with the entire process. And from his body language, you could realize that he had no qualms with the engagement. So he only assured or used the media to assure delegates that everything is in place, and he will continue with the rest of his campaigning activities, and then definitely get into the elections. We know that now that all 10 have turned up for the vetting exercise, it means that if they are all able to sail through, then the Super Delegates Congress will definitely come off in August, because the party's provision is that if you have more than 5 contesting the flag bearer race, then you have to organize a special delegates congress to trim the number down. That's the amendments that the party has made to its constitution after the 2007 elections or flag bearer election, where we witnessed about 17 of the aspirants contesting for the flag bearer slot. So Mr. Dainimo didn't actually speak to the details of what happened, but he's only expressing optimism of going through the process and eventually winning the elections.
Samuel Mbura is our man, is at the NPP campaign office. Definitely, once the vetting committee closes and gives its verdict, we'll bring all of that to you in our subsequent bulletins. Let's talk about the Ghana Police Service, because the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, has been interacting with some persons gathered at the Amasaman Police Station. He's visiting police stations in the Greater Accra region to assess the quality of service the public receives. He says the police will always be ready to serve the populace. Some residents of Amasaman who were there commended him and want him to strengthen his police visibility initiative. Maxwell Agbagba has been with the IGP. He joins us with more. Agbagba, first, what has the IGP been saying after his visit to some police stations?
Well, Asha, his first port of call was the Amasaman police station, where he interacted with the personnel there in camera. Later, he came out and interacted with the public, assuring that the police will do all within its power to ensure their safety. From there, he moved to have a brief engagement with the chief of Amasaman. I've been interacting with some of the residents here at Amasaman who are full of praise for the IGP. They say under his watch, they've witnessed a massive transformation of the Ghana Police Service. They're happy about the visibility of the police at every vantage point in the country, but they want the police to enhance that police visibility initiative. In the last 15 minutes, something interesting happened. Just when the IGP was moving through the community, he saw 3 students, pupils actually, they'll be just like 7 years, 8 years. They were going to school, 3 children, they were going to school, but just when they saw the police vehicle, they started running away. He got down from his vehicle and decided to walk them to their school. So as it stands right now, we are working together with these 3 children. He's taking them to the school, telling them that the police is their friend and they shouldn't be scared anytime they see the police, Aisha.
Maxwell Agbagba on that beat. Definitely will bring you more from the IGP who's touring some police stations in the Greater Accra region. Now, some local assemblies in the Ashanti region defied a directive by the Regional Coordinating Council to dredge and desilt waterways ahead of the rainy season. That's according to the Ashanti Regional Minister, Simon Osei-Mensah. At least 8 lives have been lost to flooding in the region this year, mostly occurring at overflown bridges. Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah says metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies flouting the directive will be sanctioned after an ongoing investigation. Nanaya Ojima was at the meeting of the Regional Coordinating Council in Kumasi and has filed this report.
Early this year, the Meteorological Agency warned of heavy rains in the rainy season. The Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council, in preparation for the rains, directed various local assemblies to take urgent steps to mitigate the impact. According to Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah, assemblies that adhere to the directive have recorded minimal floods.
We've issued letters more than even once. Normally, we request them to desilt the main drains and water bodies during between December and then March, so that with the onset of the heavy rains, all these drains will have been desilted and it will minimize flooding.
Reports received by the council indicate flood events were recorded mostly in areas outside Greater Kumasi. Mr. Osei-Mensah says the cause of the flood will be investigated for appropriate sanctions.
If you've noticed, last year we didn't have flooding in Kumasi. This year, to so far, we've not had within Kumasi itself. It has been the outskirts that we've had flooding. We've realized some of the assemblies, they think they don't experience flooding, and that is why they refuse to dredge or desilt most of the streams in their area. But if you take the one that happened in Bantama, this is a Sufua area, you realize that that place, even though it's not within, it's just outskirts of Kumasi, but the place got seriously flooded. So we are going to find out whether they did the dredging or they did not, and then we will sanction them appropriately.
Meanwhile, the regional minister is advising individuals living in low-lying areas to vacate for safety. For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
Motorists who use the Pedrase-Ayu-Mensah road say they can now heave a sigh of relief as the debris that covered parts of the stretch Wednesday morning has been cleared by the Ghana Highways Authority. Joy News first reported the dangerous nature with which stones and sand covered portions of the road, which motorists expressed grave concerns over. We are back there this afternoon. We'll get more from Carlos Kaloni, who has been on this beat for us. Carlos, what has changed since yesterday?
All right, Aisha, I can report that the debris has actually been cleared from the road. And as we speak, there's free movement of vehicles now on both lanes on the Pedrase to the Ayu-Mensah bound stretch of the road. But there is a problem. The problem is that the drains remain heavily silted. And this is actually causing a lot of problems. Apart from that, I also see a substantial amount of the debris which has also been left on the shoulder of the road. And this is impeding free flow of water. So as we speak, you can see some water flowing freely onto the road. Aisha.
Yesterday, the Eastern Regional Minister, Sete Champon, ordered developments on the hill, the developers as well as contractors working on some inner roads there to take remedial measures to stop any further spillage of the debris onto the road. Has anything changed in that direction?
All right, so that was the assurance given by the Eastern Regional Minister. But this morning, our interactions with the residents and some property owners here on the hill show that engineers are yet to actually arrive here to do anything of that sort. So the property owners themselves have not taken any steps yet, and authorities are also yet to arrive here to push them to take any action on that.
How about motorists who ply the stretch? What's their reaction to the road finally assets being cleared?
Well, they've been expressing a lot of excitement over the fact that the debris has been cleared, but they've also been expressing concerns over the heavily silted drains there, and they want the authorities to move swiftly, especially to tackle the issue on the hill with regards to a contractor that is working on some inner roads in the community. So they are asking the authorities to move swiftly to ensure that the contractor works fast so that we don't have a repeat of this incident, and also ensure that property owners on the hill also heed to the directive given by the regional minister.
Carlos Coloni is our man following this for us. We can now listen to the Eastern Regional Minister, Sethi Champong, who's been warning the road developers to desist from activities that pose a risk to road users.
And I agree on transparency issues and all other concerns in respect of ownership, who must we hold responsible. So that is the essence why we refer and immediately call on them for remedy. However, you raise a very important point on settlement. Unfortunately, we have been battling this as we speak. The municipality, which is the Ekrapim South municipality, is in court with 3 developers within the. Aside that, the Regional Coordinating Council, with advice from what we have come to inherit and we know as the engineering coordinating team, this is a meeting of all engineers in various sectors of our economy. And they are advisors to the Coordinating Council in respect of land use and spatial planning. And they are the ones that admonish us on how and where policy must be directed to. And so within this year, we held our maiden meeting and we made presentations in this particular enclave. Reasons are that we had already issued concerns to the Obotebri Mountain in the Koforidua area, where we realized that settlement was rearing her head in that neighborhood. So we encouraged the New Javin South municipality, who is the owner of that neighborhood, to prevent future approvals, if any, came before the development committee of the assembly, so that we'll be able to control the distractions and at the same time what we call unnecessary disturbance of the vegetation. Reasons are that, like the engineer said, we've been made to appreciate that the formed ground here and then the existing ground is said is what the scientists call a sedimentary formation. So the ground we have is sedimentary. It's not like the granite rock that we see that engineers use to roll our roads. So these, when movement occurs, it is easily loosened. And so not supposed to disturb it. That is how they made us to understand and appreciate.
Meanwhile, Greater Accra Regional Director of Highways, Engineer Emmanuel Layo says his outfit is currently flying a drone in the area to ascertain the cause of the falling of stones and sand on the stretch, as well as that of the Kaswa stretch, to inform his outfit on what concrete measures to take in dealing with the situation.
That way, we are not seeing that there shouldn't be any development on the hill. But then the moment you put up a structure, there should be other structures to contain whatever problems it will be bringing on board. Now, if you go outside the country, Singapore, other areas, that the people are living on the hill, you realize that they have a proper drainage structure that collects all the water and runs it down to the valley, and that is okay. However, our station is not like that. There is no planning scheme. If there is any, I don't know. But if there is any planning scheme, I expect that it will be followed. However, from what you are observing, you can clearly see that there is no planning scheme being followed. And that is why we are seeing what we are seeing now. The residents themselves, those downstream, are handicapped because they get the brunt of all the problems that are coming from the top. Vis-a-vis debris, stones, and then the water itself, because it's not properly channeled. So for now, we have to seriously bring in all the stakeholders, especially the district assembly, and then the hydrology people, and then with Ghana Highway Authority inclusive, so that together we'll come out with a solution, so I can see.
Similar concerns have been raised by motorists and residents. I mean, over the mudslide at the Kaswa Tollbooth area there, whenever it rains. We understand you're on an inspection tour of the place. What's the root cause of that problem there? Is it also about structures on the hill?
Currently, I was saying no. It's a combination of a lot of factors. We, in the past, during the construction of the Malang Kaswa Road, there was a contractor by name Sonitra. The one gravel from the middle of the hill. Under normal circumstances, when they finish, they have to put up they have to reclaim the land by putting on the topsoil, so that vegetation can come and then restrict the movement of the erosion. However, sometimes you complete the place and then the landowners will tell you, look, we want to go there and therefore leave the place for us. As a social being, naturally you will do that. So currently what's happening is that at the toe of where they did they leveled the place all right, but we have a hill of silt that is being washed by the water from the upstream, and that is what comes onto the road. So that is the situation on the ground now. If you visit the place, it's very horrible. We have very large valleys as a result of erosion. We came here, we've seen a lot of snakes around. They are very visible.
Members of the National Food Suppliers Association are begging government to pay their 273 million cedis debt accrued since 2020. Last night, some members of the association spent their night at the premises, resolving never to leave until their monies are paid. My colleague James Aveje has been interacting with some of them.
I look at the time now, it's just a minute to 10 o'clock. Here at Cantonment, the premises of the Food Buffer Stock Company. As you can hear from the background, there are the singing of suppliers of food to the Buffer Stock Company, especially towards the free senior high school feeding program. They have been pitching camp here since Tuesday. They actually made a sleepover from Tuesday to Wednesday today, and the plan is to make another sleepover this Wednesday night to Thursday morning. Their call is that government owes them to the tune of some 270 million Ghana cedis in arrears for supplies they have made to the company between the period of 2021 and 2023 as we speak. Government is unable to clear those debts, and so to press home their issue, they have decided to pitch camp here until the last penny the government owes them is paid. What we know is that earlier today, Wednesday, 3 persons fell ill from spending their night here and have been rushed to the Cocoa Clinic. We'll be getting an update on that and more on this kind of picketing strategy they have adopted in order to get their money from government. So let's get inside now and have some interactions with them to know what their plans are towards tomorrow, Thursday. This is one of the people
pitching camp here. Let's get to know him and get to know his personal story on why he is here. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. Tell us about yourself.
Residents of Adokwa near Dompoase in the Adanse North District of the Ashanti region have been demonstrating against bad roads in the area. They are particularly angry over the delayed completion of a major bridge which they say has turned into a death trap. Nana Boachiyadom has more in this report.
The road linking Dompase to Adokwe is in a deplorable state. The protesting residents say access to health care, especially for pregnant women, is impeded by the poor road. They have lost interest in participating in voting for leaders who they say fail to heed to their needs.
We are very angry. Pregnant women are suffering because they are unable to visit the hospital, and we are also not able to return after going to the market. For about 8 years now, our roads have been deplorable. Our children are unable to go to school. When returning from the farm, I nearly died.
Adokwe Community Youth President Kennedy Oheneba says the general economic and social activities in the area are adversely affected by the bad road. He says the community has waited the government's intervention for far too long.
Things have really fallen apart. The name of Adokwe seems to have been swept under the dirty carpets by the government, and the town left in a bizarre state. The 10-kilometer road, that is 8 kilometers from Dombasi to Adokwe and 2 kilometers from Adokwe to Edunase in Amanse Enclave, is in a very poor condition. Galleries have developed in the middle and side of the road and have therefore rendered the road impassable. These galleries and popped holes result in a miserable and befalling situation for the travelers. The condition further worsen as the rainy season sets in. The road becomes very muddy. It has been over 2 years now. We are learned that the road had been given to contracts, but nothing concrete has been done by the contractor. As we speak now, our kids in Old Town have been sitting at home for almost 1 week now. The flooding around the bridge also makes it a laborious tax for even adults to move from Old Town to New Town.
The Adokwe Dasebre Omono Asamoah Eje II appealed to the government to fulfill a promise made to the community to complete construction of the abandoned bridge.
It's 8 kilometers in terms of miles, 5 miles. 2 kilometers.
I plead with government to fix the 8-kilometer road linking Dompase to Adokwe. The bridge has been blocked, not allowing floodwaters to flow.
Road minister say Adokwe 10 kilometers.
Not long ago, someone died here. Government shouldn't wait for the election period before they come here to fix the road. Reporting for Joy News, Nana Boachi Dankwayado, Kumasi.
We're live on Joy News today. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokomi. Let's take a break. When we return, this business from Pius Kojobaka.
Hi, good afternoon. Warm welcome to the business segment on Joy News today with me, Pius Kojobaka. Now, the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana has expressed concern about the high cost of doing business in the country. The institute is asking government and the Bank of Ghana to beef up efforts in addressing the high inflation affecting the economy. According to its president, Dr. Daniel Kasati, the high cost of business is affecting players within the marketing space. He spoke to Joy Business at the media launch of the 34th Annual National Marketing Performance Awards for the Institute.
The award ceremony is held to, among other things, create awareness about the relevance for the success of businesses, promote higher professional marketing standards among practitioners, and to also recognize organizations for showing resilience for the year under review. Dr. Kasati said the 34th edition of the award is to serve as a testament to the resilience, adaptability, and unwavering dedication of marketers in the country.
Yes, this year marks the 34th Annual National Marketing Performance Awards of the CIMG, and the question is, over the past 33 years, now the 34th year, what has changed? What has changed is the fact that the business environment has been different, at least for the past 3 years, and we expect that businesses cannot continue to run as they have always done in their business as usual mode. It is expected that businesses will have to find new ways, devise newer and sharper strategies to be able to overcome the numerous challenges we have faced in the global economy.
He urged the government to find diverse ways in addressing the challenges faced by many businesses in the country.
By virtue of the fact that last year, again, was particularly not a good one, we saw consistent rise in inflation. That definitely leads to the cost of running businesses going high. It makes life very difficult for business enterprises, because what it means is that you are either able to contain this cost or you pass it on to your consumers. Pass it on to your consumers, and then this will also lead to low demand for products and services, depending on the sector. Look, take banking, for example. If the cost of credit goes high, default rate goes high. Is that okay? So there is no banking institution, for instance, that will like that they will be charging high interest rates. So if, you know, there was economic prosperity, if inflation was very low and they were maintaining their margins while charging lower rates of interest on their loans whilst maintaining their smaller margins, that's what financial institutions generally expect.
Vice President for the Institute, Theodore Osei, said this year's awards cover 6 major competitive areas.
As we take delight in the successes achieved by our awards, I wish to boldly state that the CIMG takes pride in several landmark accomplishments which have greatly contributed towards improvements in organizational and professional performances, and especially so for practicing marketers.
The 34th CIMG Annual National Marketing Performance Award is under the theme Marketing, a Tool for Economic Recovery.
Now, as part of measures to enhance Ghana's payment system, Ato Forson has announced that it will engage banks and fintechs in the country to provide safe and reliable platform to benefit the financial ecosystem. The move is also expected to link Ghanaian businesses with multinational companies. Speaking to Joy Business after engaging importers and exporters, the country director of Ato Forson, Nana Yao Owusu-Banahini, said Ghanaian businesses can only be globally competitive if there is a fast and reliable payment system.
Cost of transfer payment has become an essential part of cross-border trade for businesses. For many small businesses, the cost of transferring funds due to exchange rate volatilities has compounded their operations. Speaking to Joy Business after engaging importers and exporters, the country director of Ato Forson, Nana Yao Owusu-Banahini, said Ghanaian businesses can be globally competitive if there is a fast and reliable payment system.
So what we are trying to do is that we are connecting with PSPs and banks, not just in Ghana but the African continent, to be able to enable a seamless cross-border payments. And so that's what we are focusing on. So we want to create that seamless cross-border payment that takes away most of the high cost of making payments outside of the country. Yeah, so we are a B2B. So our goal is actually to work with licensed partners. So we don't actually face customers. We provide that technology infrastructure and operational infrastructure with compliance and regulatory regimes to enable these transactions to happen. So we stay behind and empower the fintechs and the banks. Because of our current operational infrastructure, we've been able to take away some elements of corresponding bank effects and also transactional charges. So this will enable local partners to be able to do these transactions at very low cost.
On this part, the Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association, Samson Asaki Awingobert, is optimistic Ato Finance will help Ghanaian businesses to leverage the opportunity provided by Ato Finance to expand their operations across the continent.
Well, I strongly believe that as the Executive Secretary for Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, what I look for my people is when they intend to pay their suppliers at the speed and the agency and the infrastructure, the platforms that they will be able to use in the swift manner by paying their suppliers when they are procuring goods from them.
And that's all for business for now. I am Pius Kojo Baka. Darrell Kwa will be here at 1 p.m. with the Marketplace. Sports is next.
Thank you for staying with us on the news. I'm Gary Al Smith with the sports. And we begin with the story that Ghana has the hosting rights for the African Paralympic Games, which starts on the 3rd of September. But that date could be postponed as a result of the delay in completion of facilities. With less than 2 months to go, the African Paralympic Committee is taking no chances by waiting, but wants the date extended to ensure that work is fully completed. Here's the president of the committee, that's Samson Dean.
We are most grateful to the government of the Republic. We are happy with the kind of support the president has offered us. We are asking that with that kind of support, we think that the government should do more in making sure that the facilities are ready for the games. But unfortunately, as we speak, it will be a bit of difficulty for us to have an opportunity to stage the games at the multi-purpose spot, which is being built at Boteman. There is a bit of delay, and we had to scan through Accra, Greater Accra, to look for facilities to stage the games, where we are happy to do basketball at Eden Height in Weja. And then the Bukom Emporium will also host sitting volleyball. We have the Accra Sports Stadium to host football and tennis. And then the Lagos Stadium, if we are lucky, but per the reports we received last week, it indicates that we might not be able to have the Lagos Stadium for athletics in September.
So that's for the Africa Paralympic Games. Meanwhile, the Africa Games itself, so the Paralympics is always before the Games itself, the Africa Games is expected to come off in March 2024, according to the Sports Minister, Mustafa Yusuf. He said this when he led a delegation to inspect the Legon facility ahead of the continental event. Carla Morris of our desk has the rest of the story.
As you know, UG is a key partner in organizing these games. At some point, I was concerned that this wasn't going to happen, and it had implications for us also with regard to setting and readjusting our academic calendar. But I've been quite impressed with what I've seen this morning. I see that for all the places that we have been to, the rugby pitch, the games village, and the main stadium, as well as the warm-up pitch, I see that work is progressing steadily. And I believe that when we keep up this pace, by October, November, we should be able to get all the international certification that we need to get. And what will really be left will be aesthetics.
That was Professor Nana Aba Apia Amfo, Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, who, despite indicating she was impressed with the quality of work on the facilities at the University of Ghana premises, which will be used for the Games, she confessed there are aspects she has slight worries with.
I mean, right here on this field, We've noticed the quality of the grass, which we have pointed out to the contractors, and they have assured us that they are going to work on. On the other hand, too, we are concerned with regard to the refurbishment going on within the student hostels, and for the students to, in the meantime, keep these facilities as they are expected to be kept before the start of the games.
That's it for the sport. You can get more on the sports page of myjoyonline.com. We have Sports Today, our major news bulletin for today, sport bulletin for today at 2 p.m. Stay with us.
Time now for showbiz. Its music is known for its powerful messages of hope, faith, love, and inspiring gospel music. Today we put the spotlight on US-based Ghanaian lead worshiper C.C. Edwards as he talks about his career and new song, Mary Something.
Classify myself as being in the gospel music industry.
Tell me about it.
I want to be classified as being in the gospel music ministry.
Right.
Yes, because for me it's not what I wanted to do, it's what God has called me to do. You know, when I say God has called me to do, I have dealt with pastors and prophets that I didn't know from anywhere. I just met and they, told me that this is the mandate.
At what point did you realize that this is what I want to do?
It was actually in a very difficult time of my life because I was in the US. I didn't know which direction I was going with life itself, I didn't know what job I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to go back to school. I just didn't know what I wanted to do with life. And so that time I prayed a lot. There were times that, I realized that I was crying when I was praying because I was asking the Lord, why me? Why this? Why that? Set my feet, in a direction where, And so during that time, I realized that the Lord was taking me a different direction.
You're now here in the industry. I want to take your view on, the whole gospel music scene. From your perspective, what do you make of the gospel music industry, and what are you bringing on board?
It's a tricky question, a great one and such. There are excellent, ministers here. Right. Jometo, he's my friend. Great guy. I've listened to the likes of MOG, right. Diana Hamilton, and groups like Empraise. Right. They people are doing great things. And I'm praying that we continue to do great exploits. My prayer is that we will try to learn from the roots, but not from the middle. Okay. And that is, I think, that's one major problem with everything, not just music, with everything that we do. Learning from in Ghana. Roots. We learn from the middle, but there's always a reason for an inception. So let's go there and learn, and then also, if we can.
And that's how we wrap up Showbiz News this afternoon. That's how we draw the curtains also on Joy News today. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more of the news and updates of all the developing stories, including minority abandoned parliament to solidarize with Quayson and Ato Forson in court. And you can't stifle Ghanaians from having their say. Minority warns Attorney General. More on myjoyonline.com. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.